My brother spent 3 years in prison for something I did, and to this day, he still thinks I was the only one who believed he was innocent. That lie kept us close. It also destroyed everything inside me. I was 15 when it happened, and I've lived every day since trying to decide if telling the truth would have done more harm or more good. My name is Eli. I'm 28 now, but back then, I was just a scared kid with too many secrets and not enough courage. Josh was my older brother, 3 years older, tough, loud, always in trouble. But he wasn't a bad person. He was just angry. Angry at the world. Angry at our father. Angry at how unfair life felt. People always assumed he'd end up in jail someday. Maybe that's why no one looked twice when it finally happened. But Josh didn't start that fire. I did. I was stupid, playing around with gasoline in the garage next door. I thought I had it under control. I didn't. I ran when the flames jumped. I didn't scream, didn't call for help. I just ran. My shoes were soaked with the smell of smoke and fear. I hid behind the fence and watched the neighbor's garage turn to ash. And when they came looking for answers, I said nothing. The police questioned Josh. He had been in trouble before. A fight at school. A petty theft charge. And he had been near the scene. His fingerprints were everywhere because he worked on cars in that garage. He was the easy target, and I let him take the fall. He told me later, after the trial, that knowing I believed in him was the only thing that kept him sane. I nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat, and let him believe it. Because telling the truth would have destroyed him, and me. At least that's what I told myself then. After the arrest, everything moved fast. Too fast. Josh was taken in. My parents screamed. My mom cried for days. My dad blamed everyone but himself. He said Josh was always trouble, always going to end up in handcuffs. I said nothing. Just watched. Listened. Hid behind silence like it was armor. The police didn't find proof beyond fingerprints and timing. But it was enough. Josh had no alibi. No one came forward. Not even me. I sat in that courtroom while he stared at the floor, wearing a suit that didn't fit, with wrists that shook as they read the charges. I remember gripping the edges of the bench so hard my fingers went numb. I wanted to scream, to stand up and confess. But every time I opened my mouth, I saw my mom's face. The hope in her eyes. The pain in her voice when she said, "He didn't do this." Josh never cried. Not once. Even when the sentence came down 3 years. Arson. Property damage. No injuries, thank God. But still, prison. He turned around in the courtroom and looked right at me. And I nodded. Like I believed him. Like I was proud of him. I was a coward. The day they took him away, he hugged me. Whispered, "Don't let this change you." And I almost collapsed. I wanted to grab his arm and scream the truth. But I just stood there, silent, useless. At home, things got worse. My dad drank more. My mom fell apart slowly. Meals stopped. We didn't talk. And in the middle of it all, I walked around like a ghost. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a liar. A traitor. A brother who didn't deserve forgiveness. And yet somehow I convinced myself I did the right thing. That maybe this would make Josh stronger. That maybe it would teach me to be better. But all it did was teach me how to live with guilt. Josh wrote me letters from prison, almost every week. He didn't talk much about the inside, just asked how I was. If mom was okay. If school was still boring. He always ended with the same line. "Be better than me, little bro. You've got a real shot." I read them in my room, cried in silence, and hid them in a shoebox. Every word cut deeper, because he still believed I was the one person in the world who had his back. The irony was unbearable. I'd sent him there, and he was thanking me for standing by him. That kind of pain doesn't fade. It nests, builds walls inside you. Our mom visited him twice a month. She held on to hope like it was air. brought him snacks, family photos. She never stopped saying he was innocent. I used to sit in the waiting room and pray he'd say something that would give me an excuse, that maybe he'd admit to it, let me off the hook. But he never did, because he hadn't done it. I had, and the longer I stayed silent, the more impossible it felt to come clean. What was I supposed to say? Hey Josh, I let you go to prison so I wouldn't get grounded? No apology could touch that kind of betrayal. At school, people talked. The kid with the criminal brother. I kept my head down, said nothing, pretended I didn't care. But inside, I hated every laugh, every rumor. I wanted to scream that Josh wasn't a criminal, that he'd taken the fall for someone who didn't deserve his loyalty. I tried to write him back. I'd start with, "Hey man," and end with nothing. I'd crumple the page and toss it. What could I say that didn't sound like a lie? I missed him. I admired him. And I hated myself more every single day. Then, one afternoon, I opened another letter. Inside was a folded drawing. Me and him, standing in front of our old garage. He wrote, "When I get out, let's rebuild it." Together this time. I stared at that paper for hours, because that was the moment I knew I couldn't carry this forever. Josh got out the summer I turned 18. I waited outside the gate in a borrowed suit and shaking hands. When he saw me, he smiled. Same old smile. Like nothing had changed. Like I wasn't the reason he'd spent 3 years behind concrete and steel. I wanted to cry, but I just hugged him. We drove home in silence. He looked out the window, said prison wasn't as bad as he thought, said he met good people, learned how to cook, said he forgave everyone who gave up on him. I almost had to pull over. That word, forgive, tasted like rust in my mouth. That night we had dinner. Mom made his favorite. Josh cracked jokes, told stories. I laughed, but every word stabbed. Later, I asked him to come out to the garage. Just us. He followed, confused. The air was heavy. My hands were cold. I stood where the fire started, looked him in the eye. "It was me," I said. "I started the fire, not you." He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. So I kept going. I told him everything. How I panicked, how I froze, how I watched him get blamed and stayed silent. He didn't interrupt, just listened. Then he asked one question. "Why now?" I said, "Because you deserve the truth, even if it ruins me." He nodded once, his face unreadable. Then he turned around, walked out of the garage, and didn't say another word. I stood there alone, heart pounding, hoping for anything. Anger, yelling, even a punch. But all I got was the sound of a door closing behind me. A sound louder than any fire. Josh didn't talk to me for weeks. He slept in late, ate alone, spent hours walking the neighborhood. When I tried to approach, he'd nod politely but never say much. I had hoped that telling the truth would bring us closer. Instead, it built a wall I couldn't climb. My mom found out. I told her everything. She cried, then slapped me. Not out of hate, but heartbreak. "You let your brother suffer," she said, "and we worshipped you for standing by him." That shattered something in her eyes I'd never seen before. I started sleeping less, eating less. The guilt I had hidden for years was now out in the open, and it was heavier. I thought confession would lift the weight, but all it did was drag it into the daylight, where everyone could see just how ugly it really was. Josh wouldn't touch the garage, wouldn't go near it. The drawing he gave me, still folded in my desk. I look at it sometimes and wonder if that version of us is dead. If the bond we had burned with that fire. If my silence didn't just wound him but erased us both. One night, I left a letter outside his door. I didn't say sorry. I knew that word wasn't enough. I just wrote, "You gave up everything to protect me, and I let you pay for what I did. I was a coward, but I've never stopped loving you." The next morning, the letter was gone. No word, no message. But something inside me shifted. Maybe he read it. Maybe he didn't, but I had finally stopped hiding. Finally faced the boy I was, and the man I had to become. It's been almost a year. Josh talks to me now. Short sentences, careful glances. It's not the same, but it's something. We eat dinner together once a week, mostly in silence. But sometimes he laughs, and when he does, I hold on to it like oxygen. He never said he forgave me. I don't think he has to. Some things go beyond words, beyond apologies. He shows up, and I do too. Maybe that's all we can ask from each other now. Maybe that's enough. Mom still hurts. I see it in her eyes, in the way she watches us, like waiting for something to explode. But I think she's healing too. She started gardening again, bought new curtains, small things that say maybe we'll be okay. I still visit the garage, alone. I rebuilt the shelves, cleaned the soot stains no one else could see. It's not about fixing the past. It's about owning it. About touching the places where the truth scorched everything and still standing there. People think telling the truth makes you brave, but they forget it can also make you alone. My truth set me free, yes, but it also left scars I carry in every quiet moment. I don't want anyone to think this was redemption. It was consequence. So now I ask you, if your silence sent someone you loved to prison, would you have the courage to tell the truth, even if it cost you everything?